Hello again, and welcome to the third episode of E Says, P Says, your weekly dose of black love. My name is Ellen, the E.
And my name is Paul, the P.
In case you're tuning in for the first time, we are a couple that will be married for 35 years and want to celebrate this milestone by sharing the stories of our trials and tribulations. Hopefully, while you're listening to us, it will help those of you out there looking for love, those wanting to reignite their love, or those just that love.
We would also like to thank you for your patience while we worked through our technical difficulties. Hopefully, we have corrected the kinks and have put steps in place for things to run smoother in the future. We also hear you about the length of our episodes. We are working on it. In the interim, we will start going live on the weekends for up to an hour on some of the topics we have worked through.
So, the last time we dropped an episode, you guys got to listen to my upbringing and how Paul and I first met. So today we're going to listen to Paul's story and upbringing. All I can say is grab the tissues. You're in for quite a treat. So, where did you grow up?
Well, I grew up in Los Angeles, California. I was born in California in 1965. My father called me special because I was born the year that the Watts riots took place. My mother and my father divorced when I was around 3 years old. Throughout my early and preteen years, I lived with and was influenced by both of my parents. My mother was around 10 years younger than my dad, which is why I don't think they stayed married that long. My father eventually remarried to a woman who had several older children. Neither she nor many of her children treated me well, which is why I vowed never to marry a woman with children. My stepmother never treated me like one of her children. Of course, being a child, I was perplexed by her treatment of me. I never understood it. Then one day I had an epiphany. She was jealous of my dad and I's relationship. As I hearkened back to some of her and my dad's verbal sparring matches, I remember times when she would complain about him buying me certain necessities like school clothes and supplies. I could never reconcile her feelings towards me, especially since she was supposed to be a woman of the Christian faith, specifically a woman of the cloth. Their exchanges regarding my presence within the household caused me a great deal of consternation and self-doubt. To my stepmother, I wanted to ask several questions. Was I not lovable? Wasn't I a good student? Didn't I stay out of trouble even in a place as rough and tumble as South Central Los Angeles? After all, I wasn't a gangbanger throwing up blood and Crip signs.
That sounds heartbreaking. Did you ever get a chance to ask your stepmom those questions? Was education important in your family?
I never got an opportunity to ask my stepmother those questions, though I always wondered why she treated me the way that she did. As far as education is concerned, and to answer your question, yes, education was very important in my family. My father always talked about the value of education, as well as my grandfather. Growing up, I went to elementary and middle school in Montclair, Pomona, and South Central LA, as I was living between both of my parents. In Montclair, I went to a predominantly white elementary and middle school. The education at both schools was excellent. I received awards in mathematics as an elementary school student and took geometry as a sixth grader while in middle school. I was a standout football and baseball player, though basketball was a sport I loved the most. Just to give some context, Pomona and Montclair, California, were two enclaves or suburbs that were outside of Los Angeles. And I would say they were about 45 to 50 minutes away from the LA Center. Okay. As I said, I was a standout football and baseball player. The high school football coach started recruiting me in the middle of my 7th grade year. Unfortunately, things began to spiral out of control. One day, I came home to find our house ransacked with neither my mother or stepfather being home. I mean, stuff was thrown everywhere. Clothes, steel equipment, and furniture had been strewn across the living room. I had done some deductive reasoning and had surmised that my stepfather had gotten busted for selling drugs. I don't know if you'd call it mother's wit, but I knew deep down that the police were responsible for this mess that I was looking at. My life flashed before my eyes because I knew life was over as I had known it. And I was right. Eventually, my stepdad was charged with possession and distribution of powdered cocaine, known as the white man's drug. Due to prior convictions, he had been given a sentence of 10 years. This was a devastating blow to the family in more ways than one. First, my mother had lost her husband. Second, my sister and brother had lost a father. Third, my dreams of becoming a sports star at Montclair High School had been dashed. In my eyes, life was over.
That must have been sad for you as well, especially when it seems like you were thriving and looking forward to success in high school. So where did you go to high school?
I went to high school in Los Angeles, California. The name of the school was George Washington High School, and it's lovingly called the Dove. It's important to note that this was a difficult period in my life. My father and I lived together. We loved each other very much, which is probably how I got through high school, but lived in abject poverty throughout my high school years. Eviction was always around the corner, lurking its intimidating head. My father was not healthy during my high school years. He was not able to work much, but earned what he could doing odd jobs. He got food stamps when I was in high school, and I didn't have the best clothes or shoes. My dad's main focus was for me to get an education, and since his focus was on education, that is what I focused on. I did not focus on material things. However, this is not to say that I didn't like or want name brand tennis shoes, sneakers, or jeans. Of course, I wanted to dress like other kids at my school. Excuse me. But I did not crave name brand clothes or shoes, and was not willing to sell drugs or get involved in other criminality to get them. My dad taught me that manhood was not measured by what clothes or shoes one wore, but by the way he treated others. I am so happy that he thought this way, because had he not, I do think I would have succumbed to the incessant teasing I received for my quote-unquote poor attire. Kids can be cruel, and many were towards me until I became a star on the basketball court. After I made the varsity basketball team and started getting recruiting letters from colleges and universities to play basketball, the teasing mostly stopped.
Wow, Paul, the negative hits kept coming, and I must say your ability to pivot when it seems like there is a period instead of a comma or question mark is amazing. Please continue.
The summer before my senior year of high school, I played on the AAU circuit. I had done a nice job of rebounding the basketball and playing tough interior defense against taller and stronger players. My play over the summer garnered me even more recruiting letters. Unfortunately, during a fall basketball practice and workout, I ended up fracturing my ankle after coming down awkwardly from attempting a dunk. For all intents and purposes, my season was over. Many of the offers I'd gotten had simply slipped away. Now the only hope I had was to keep my grades up and to get a decent score on the SAT. I was fortunate to have a GPA that had made leaps and bounds since my sophomore year of high school. I had taken challenging college prep classes in high school, but knew that those courses were not on par with the same courses at wealthier LA County high schools. Nonetheless, I put my best foot forward and began studying for the test. My dad bought me an SAT prep book to study from. I studied for 3 or 4 hours every night up until I sat for the SAT. I scored a 920 on the test when a perfect score was 1600. My score and grade point average were good enough for me to have gained acceptance to several different colleges and universities, such as Morehouse College, Cal Poly Pomona, the University of San Diego, Hobart College, Fisk College, and Pomona College. I was fortunate enough to get the opportunity to go to Hobart College due to my relationship with a teacher named Richard Aberly. He was one of my teachers and a graduate of Hobart College. He was and still is a man full of brilliance. It was because of his intuition and fortitude that I was able to escape South Central and travel across the country to a new opportunity.
You got into some pretty good, outstanding schools. I am surprised your relationship with the teacher would lead you to a PWI, also known as a predominantly white institution, instead of a school like Morehouse or Fisk. What made you make that choice? Did anything happen before you headed east?
Yes, my dad really, he did not want me to go to an HBCU. He wanted me to broaden my horizons and to be around different races and cultures. And at first, I didn't agree with that. I wanted to be around quote unquote my people and learn more about black history and things of that nature. But my father was adamant. He thought it was more important that I get a deeper understanding of the world around me. He wanted me to have what I call a global perspective, or what he would call a global perspective. Also, this was an opportunity that I took on faith and not on sight. Several days before getting on the bus, my grandmother called me and told me she needed some work done on her flower bed. I obliged her request by coming over the next morning. Once there, my grandmother directed me to her backyard and told me that what she wanted done. I thought back to a chapter in Booker T. Washington's autobiography, Up From Slavery, where he had to clean a room to gain admission into college. He cleaned the room to the point that the headmaster could see her reflection when she looked at the wooden floor. At that moment, I made up my mind that I would show my grandmother just how serious I was about attending college. I spent 3.5 hours working on her flower bed. When she saw it, she stated that this is the best her flower bed has looked in years. She gave me an old accordion suitcase from her garage and $20. That $20 felt like $1,000 because I was dead broke after paying for my bus ticket and giving my mom money for bills from my summer youth job. 2 days later, I left for Geneva, New York on a Greyhound bus. I remember my dad looking happy and dejected at the same time as I got ready to get on the bus. My dad said, "Now you're going to college and I have nothing to give you." I looked at my father and stated, "You've given me so much already. You gave me life, wisdom, and humility. You've taught me to be a giver and not a taker. For that, I will forever be grateful. Thank you, and I love you. I watched as quiet tears streamed down my father's face. I was taken aback because I had not seen my father cry since the senseless death of my cousin Donald.
Well, Paul, that took courage. Because at the time you traveled by bus, I didn't even realize they drove that far. I guess that is one of the things that is also amazing to me. I would have definitely tried to get a train or airplane money from somewhere. Do you remember our first meeting?
I do. I do remember my first meeting. I first saw you at the Hershon dormitory. And that was what we call up on the hill. And that was the all-girls dormitory. And I remember there was a party up there. And myself, James McGill, and Mark Skip Darden, we were walking around at the party. And we happened to walk on different floors. And we heard some music. Because that music at that party was horrible. And so we were looking for some rap or some kind of rhythm and blues or some R&B or something like that. And so we happened to hearken on your floor, or get on your floor, and we heard the music. And your door was open, and we walked in your room. We didn't even knock. We just walked in. And you looked at us. Like he had this look of horror. And I do remember asking you on a date. And I don't remember the little restaurant that they used to have where they have the 10-cent chicken wings. But I do remember asking you on a date at that time.
Yes, that was quite a surprise to me as well, seeing the three of you in my room. And the name of the place was The Oaks.
Oh, The Oaks. That's right, The Oaks.
Well, Paul, that was great. I never tire of hearing of your story and knowing that regardless of where each of us began, we still ended up here, holding each other down for all these years.
And that is so true. 35 years, it will be in April. And that's true. We have held each other down.
Well, thanks again for tuning in to E Says, P Says. Don't forget to subscribe so you'll be the first to know when our next episode is up. Disclaimer, we are not therapists. We are just hoping to help others through our crazy love story.
Shout out to everyone who took a few moments out of their day to listen. We hope that anything you heard was helpful.
If you do want to do something, donate your time, talent, or funds to a cause you feel is worthy. Or just send a note of thanks to someone you know working hard at whatever they do and making lasting change in their field.
Thanks for joining us this week on E Says, P Says, your weekly dose of black love. Check us out on our social media platforms. Facebook, E Says, P Says. Instagram at E Says, P Says. TikTok at E Says, P Says. YouTube at E Says, P Says Live. And on X at E Says, P Says. And make sure you subscribe so that you don't miss any of our episodes. And feel free to leave any questions or comments on one of our platforms. See you next week.